Previously on the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve.
Very well. Bring in the witnesses. Make no mistake, I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest once and for all. See, everybody, I'm a good guy.
And now back to
Legging
it, people. Hello! NicoB! Back with some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. We last left off. We got the final trial section underway. And now we are seemingly being headed straight to the end here. At least probably for me. From this point forward, I'm likely just going to be recording this all in one go. Unless this part goes so insanely long. Like the trial is truly like 5 more hours or something. And I'm just completely dead by then. But likely this will be probably split into at least 2. I don't know, some people said either 3, or is there still fucking that much left? Good God. This is a thick-ass game. It's a thick-ass conclusion, but it is seeming like Asogi was entirely set up in this whole rigmarole, this whole even being the professor, which I guess makes sense. And it was something that I sort of thought about because the fact is the killings that have been happening is the Reaper has really kind of had the same exact MO that the professor killings had, right? So it did sort of suggest that it never really went away, meaning that who has it been then this whole time? Who was it back then that was actually the professor? Was it also Strongheart? Was he walking around with his fucking dog and just straight murdering people? I don't know. And what I'll be curious to see too is Asogi totally faultless here. Genshin Asogi, that is. He did say he admitted to the killing of a man, right? But he was very vague about it, and it made it almost sound like he did kill at least one person. It almost makes me wonder if maybe Clint did die from Genshin Asogi. That'd be a hell of a twist, wouldn't it? But it's so much weird fucking shit happening in this case, right? The fact that seemingly was planted this evidence against Asogi, but Gregson was so fucking sure though that it was absolutely Gregson that was the professor. So they planted some evidence. Similarly, Caden completely threw Vigil under the bus, knowing that he was not in any way related to the crime, which I still think, fuck this guy. He's a piece of shit and he deserves to demon die. It's even worse the fact that Vigil is likely going to be going to prison anyway for impersonating a detective. And now we have the Asogi papers, basically Genshin's last will and testament, and I think it's incomplete. I think that's what it is. I think parts of it were removed. And if they were smart, fucking destroyed, which is kind of why I'm curious how we're exactly going to figure out what was really written there. I can't imagine they didn't fucking destroy the papers there. Because Asogi, Prosecutor Asogi did say that this was written in his father's handwriting, right? So I think it was more that the pages in between were maybe removed. And if that's the case, I don't know how we're going to figure out what was actually written there. And then in the end, who ended up actually shooting and killing Genshin Asogi, right? Because seemingly this insane fucking setup of him actually escaping from jail was all planned from the highest parts of the British government, which is just what? And then again, how did he think this was even going to work, that they would let him go? And seemingly it was because of what he knew, right? That he could potentially spill some dank, dark secrets about the British government. At least that's what I'm thinking, right? Whatever's been hidden away in these papers. We don't know what it is yet, but I assume that's probably what it is. Probably what the truth is about the Reaper as well. But goddamn, dude, and we're getting to a climax here. I can feel it. I can fucking feel it. But before we do that, last episode, Dark Souls boy said, Naruhodo, this is the overwhelming evidence showing you are the killer. Strongheart. Nice argument. Unfortunately, I find myself not guilty. See, that's what I was saying. That's what I've been saying. I'm technically, we never had a case where the judge, and he's actually the judge of the case, is also the main culprit. So what are we going to do at the end? I think the thing that will be his downfall, it will have to be the people here, right? They have to be the ones to turn against him. But it's going to be rough, I think. And I don't know if there's ever going to be a point where he's going to come down to the stand and testify. I think he's always going to be the one in charge here. So I still think it's going to be a pretty tough call. I think he's going to have to get ousted by the people himself if justice is actually going to get done. But Dark Souls, thank you so much for your hilarious and also potential look into the future. And as for that reason, you are our comment of the day. But all right, guys, this is it. All right? No more fucking about. I want to see how this shit fucking goes. The Asogi papers. Let's do it. Okay, as the warder responsible for condemned convicts, I attended Mr. Asogi and kept watch over his cell. Mata! So would that mean you conversed with Mr. Asogi?
Yes, certainly. Though there was precious little time before his execution was due. He was remarkably calm, considering his days were very much numbered. In all honesty, he really didn't strike one as a man capable of mass murder.
Yet he confessed in full to the crimes.
I know. That's why I felt compelled to ask him one day. I can still recall his reply. I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes.
Yeah. But kind of vague.
But he was so tranquil and intelligent, it put me in the mind of an Eastern holy man.
And what about the will you saw him with? What can you tell us about that?
It was the beginning of all the drama. I remember it very well, yes.
Ow, my hand! The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. And he pleaded with you not to report him, didn't he?
Yes, that's right. And like the Burma you are, you didn't tell me. A plain breach of trust that was. I could see that the man had a noble spirit. I found myself wanting to treat him accordingly.
I mean, fuck you, dude, all right? You don't deserve fucking anything, all right? You don't deserve fucking anything except being robbed of your fucking freedom, you sack of shit.
But according to what you told us 2 days ago, the convict had been strictly forbidden from having any writing materials whatsoever.
Yes, you're quite right.
So when exactly was the will penned?
That was before the man was remanded in Berkeley, obviously.
Yes, the prosecutor's office under the supervision of relevant authorities. I personally instructed Asogi to make a will for the benefit of his family in his homeland.
Really?
Really?
In that case, why was it found in his cell?
What do you mean by that?
Well, if it was penned at the prosecutor's office, you would have expected that it would remain there for safekeeping, surely. It's curious. There doesn't seem to be any obvious explanation for why it was subsequently found in the convict's cell.
Well, the defense makes an astute point. Well, Governor?
A prison governor cannot be expected to ken the inner workings of the prosecutor's office.
In that case, Lord Strongheart, perhaps you can shed some light on the matter. I'm unable to offer an explanation here and now. I would have to consult with the notary responsible for the will at the time.
Okay.
The fact that my father's will was discovered in his cell is clearly inconsistent with what was expected. I want to know why.
Another inexplicable mystery, then.
Fuck if I know.
Well, thing about that will.
We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail. It was the governor who ordered the search for the will, as I understand it. Is that right?
Yes. And when I reported back that we couldn't find it, he grabbed me by the cravat and yelled, "He can't have disappeared completely," in my face. Aye, well, it's down to the governor to keep everybody working as hard as they should.
I think the governor needs a wee taste of his own medicine, Mr. Naruhodo.
Damn straight, so let's fucking go.
The point is, it was clearly considered a very important document, wasn't it?
She's about to go over there and fucking toss this man to the floor. Bang! But it proved impossible to find.
That's right. And then before I knew it, it was in the morning paper. That blood-curdling article. The executed mass murderer who'd risen from the dead.
Oh, you mean...
The article based on Mr. Drebber's experience in Locate Cemetery.
Yes, that was it. The day after I'd read that news, I was summoned to the governor's office. And that's when the awful accusation was made.
That you'd aided Genshin Asogi to escape from the prison, resulting in your immediate dismissal.
I'm afraid I really don't remember anything after that. but Caden does. As the governor of the prison, I had no choice. I couldn't have done anything else.
I only found out about the Asogi papers when a directive came telling me to impound them. And that directive came from the same source as the one instructing you about the jailbreak.
Aye, from the top levels of the prosecutor's office.
What name was on it?
I didn't ken afore, and I didn't ken now. All I can tell you is that my orders were to do everything in my power to find that document. The directive said it had to be somewhere inside the filler's cell.
Document. Was that the wording? Document, not will.
Aye, that's what it said.
Am I clutching at straws here? I just wonder if it was really Genshin Asogi's last will and testament that the sender of that directive was after.
Continue with your testimony then, witness.
The document was in the folds of the fellow's robe that was left in his cell. By the way, I realized last episode. So first time I said kimono, which I did intentionally because I was trying to make, because I imagine you probably would have mispronounced it, but then when I think I had Vigil say it, I actually said komino. That was an actual fuck up. I got my vowels backwards. I actually do know how to say this word though. I swear to God, a kimono, I think it's called.
Hold it!
In Mr. Asogi's kimono.
Aye, the one he brought with him when he was locked up.
Yes, he was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand.
That's right. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the few days before his execution.
Indeed, he had a number of items of personal significance, I remember. He was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, that kimono, his sword.
His sword?
Karuma, the famous sword of the Asogi clan. It bears the soul of my family.
I don't doubt it, but I wasn't really getting at that. Forget it being the soul of the clan. Could the man have had a more obvious weapon?
Have some respect, Ryunosuke.
Respectful silence? Also, dude, I had the sword with me for like a fucking year. Of course I know what it is.
The warders carry firearms at all times. The inmates have shackles around their ankles. It couldn't have hurt anybody with that thing.
Still, he was allowed a sword, but no writing materials?
Aye. He wrote that will before he came with us to Berkeley, you see.
Dr. Mikotoba was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor's office.
A Suzuri inkstone, black Sumi ink, and some Hanshi rice paper, no doubt.
I was present when he wrote it. But I'm sorry to say, the letters just look like a squirming mass of jet black earthworms to me. You motherfucker! Don't you lie to me.
Are you feeling fate, Mr. Vigil? Mr. Vigil!
Yes, sir! It was Scarlet, sir!
What?
No! I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to blurt out like that.
Less swaying and more explaining would be helpful.
Is this something about the testimony we just heard? Have you recalled something of importance?
Something of importance. Possibly. Or possibly not.
I'm unable to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid.
My lord, the defense asks that Mr. Vigil be permitted to supplement his testimony with this possibly or possibly not important detail.
Permission granted.
Go ahead, Mr. Vigil.
Yes, it was Scarlet.
The ink? As I remember, the document was written in scarlet ink, but perhaps I'm mistaken. There was something, what was it? There was something recently that had scarlet on it. We brought up. Where fucking was it? Was it the autopsy? Something about scarlet got, oh, wait. I think it was, yeah, here it is. It was the autopsy of Clint. Red scarlet ink stains visible on the left and ring finger of the right hand, but no document of corresponding ink was found.
Objection!
Scarlet-colored writing is what you said you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil. And I believe that's exactly what you did see.
What?
Hamasakin, you no evidence to say that.
Have a look at this report. That's my brother's autopsy report. Yes, and there's something in here that's bothered me since I first read it. It states that scarlet-colored ink stains were noted on the fingers of the victim's right hand.
Yes, so it does.
Scarlet ink?
Now, I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit. But I would hazard a guess that they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they? Your wit is not appreciated. My brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink have sullied his fingertips, he would have cleaned them immediately.
What is your point, counsel?
My point is this. Whatever Lord Clint Van Zeeks was writing in that unusually colored ink, it must have been directly before his death, because he died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand.
What?
I remember something troubled me at the time. At the scene, the lid of my brother's inkwell was open. But Clint was punctilious about such things. It seemed unusual. And no document penned in the color of the ink that was in the inkwell was ever found.
So the document had disappeared. Are you suggesting that the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was...
The same document that Lord Clint Van Zeeks was writing moments before his death. Then, it was... If Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed, it can only mean that, yes. Mr. Vigil!
Sir!
When you spotted Mr. Sugi with the document in his cell, his precise words were as follows, were they not?
All right then. But what's on that paper?
A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now.
Oh, he didn't write it. This was something Clint wrote about. Oh, interesting. Was Clint going to spill like the beans on some shit? Maybe? Was he going to like, I mean, he left in like, was he expecting to die that night? Like he knew some dirty dank shit about the British government and he left it in that will, and then Genshin took that with him? So this whole time we've been getting confused, basically two different documents seemingly. And that would have made a lot more sense of why I'm like, fucking Strongheart was there while Genshin was writing his fucking last will and testament. I would have been hard to believe that he would have been able to write anything incriminating in that document. So maybe he didn't know anything until he saw that too.
A last will and testament?
Ah. If the conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says, then what we now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Asogi said. You really think? Mr. Vigil did indeed see the convict with a will, but it wasn't that of Genshin Asogi. It was the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeeks.
No. What? Objection!
This is madness. My brother's last will and testament. That would mean that he had chosen to die. That is what it would mean, yes.
No! Impossible! That is utterly out of the question!
Lord Van Zeeks.
Clint was pursuing the professor. It consumed him day and night. Whatever happened, he would never have abandoned his investigation before its conclusion. Never! He wouldn't rest until the job was done, until the killer was caught. The idea that he would willingly accept his own death, it's obscene!
Objection!
And yet, we can be sure that he was writing his will moments before his death.
And that Genshin Asogi came to be in possession of that document. So what could the will possibly have contained?
Clearly something that couldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning that it prompted the powers that be to enact that daring jailbreak plot. Yes, there can be no question that the will contained the information of the utmost secrecy.
I see. Okay. So now it makes sense, right? This is why at the start I was like, well, clearly he must have had his pages pulled and, like some pages are missing. But if that were the case, then it would have fucking been destroyed, right? Like there was no reason. No, that is not the damning piece of evidence. That will is totally something separate. That is actually what he wrote. That's all he wrote. The actual damning piece of evidence is Van Ziek's will. And did they ever find it? I'm thinking probably not. Seemingly they did not, actually. Yeah. All they had was Genshin's will, which means that shit is fucking still out there. Information of the utmost secrecy. No, it couldn't be. I've heard more than enough. Pursuing this notion of a phantom will nobody can attest to having seen serves absolutely no purpose.
Objection. No, my lord. That's unacceptable.
What did you say, counsel?
The last will and testament that Genshin Asogi had in his possession was that of Lord Clint Van Zieks. All the testimony and evidence presented to the court has logically led us to that as a possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion.
But with no possible means of knowing the contents of the document, there is no line of reasoning to pursue. A reason why Lord Clint Van Zieks, a man of high noble standing, would have chosen death. Information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of a condemned killer. The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. Gotta turn the thinking around. But it's just too hideous.
Miss Naruhodo? However difficult the situation might become, you work with your client in pursuit of the truth. That's what you resolved to do when you entered the courtroom this morning, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm actually wondering, could it be? Are we saying that it was actually not Genshin Asogi that was the professor in these killings back then, but was actually Clint Van Zieks himself? The reason why he has information, right? Maybe this information is that he was the one going around killing all of these people. Maybe he was the one with the dog. Maybe.
Miss Susato.
So hold your head high and keep soldiering on.
Yes, you're right. 10 years ago, in his final moments, Lord Clint Van Zieks left behind a will. A will that Genshin Asogi was able to use as a weapon to negotiate his escape from prison. In all probability, the details of the will were related to the professor case.
The defense's last statement is mere conjecture.
What are you getting at, man? Ryunosuke?
As soon as these words come out of my mouth, there's no going back.
Oh, God.
I believe that the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks was in fact
A report, an accusation, a confession. Oh, my God.
You can do this, Mr. Naruhodo.
Damn, dude. Wow. Holy fuck, dude. I love Miss Susato's it's gotta help encourage him, because this shit is like, oh my God. This is gonna fucking turn some heads and get people riled the fuck up. Especially Barack over there.
I believe that what Lord Clint Van Zieks actually penned that day was a confession.
A confession?
Regarding the mass murderer known as the Professor and his true identity.
Objection!
Enough, counsel. What are you saying?
Do you even realize? A confession about the true identity of the Professor? That would mean...
Lord Van Zieks, I appreciate this must be hard to take in, but it's the only explanation that fits. killer that terrorized London a decade ago and became known as the Professor. The man believed to have murdered 5 members of the aristocracy. Wasn't Genshin Isogi at all.
No, you can't be suggesting.
It was, in fact, the man believed to have been the 5th victim. Lord Clint Van Zeeks himself.
It's finally open, is it?
Pandora's box.
The Great Van Zeeks family? They've been thoroughbreds of the British aristocracy for years!
And Lord Clint Van Zeeks was a bug out of justice in the capital.
But he was actually a mass murderer, a perpetrator of atrocities of the vilest nature. If the general public ever found out, law and order in this country would be finished.
My brother!
Oh, this is too awful. Poor Lord Van Zeeks.
I wondered, though, did he never suspect?
Mr. Naruhodo?
Lord Brock Van Zeeks is a brilliant prosecutor. Is it conceivable that he didn't realize what his older brother really was?
Order! Order! Order in the court!
Lord Van Zeeks. The Professor made use of an enormous hound as his murder weapon. Tell me, did your brother own a dog? Yes, he did. Balmung. He was a well-known hunting dog. People called him a giant.
I don't believe this.
When my brother would go hunting in the forest of the grounds behind the house, he always took Balmung. After Clint's death, the creature passed away too, almost as if he were following his master. He was a magnificent hunting dog, worthy of the jewel-studded collar around his neck.
Oh God, there it is.
A jewel-studded collar? That's right, though sadly, some years ago now, it was stolen by a thief who broke into the house one night. A jewel-studded collar, stolen by a thief. It so happens that myself and my colleagues have come across such a collar during our time in London. How could you?
There was an old emblem attached to the collar, too, made of pure gold. It was topped with a small crown and bore an ornate capital B.
But what? An emblem bearing the initial B?
My, you know it.
It's the insignia of the Baskerville family. What? The Baskerville? Why is that name coming up now? Baskerville is the family name of my late brother's widow. That pure gold emblem was an heirloom, which Clint acquired upon their marriage.
Wow.
There can be no doubt then. The collar you've described was Balmung's.
The family insignia of Lord Clint Van Zeeks' widow.
There was a considerable amount of blood on the collar when we saw it. Since we know the dog was used for hunting, it could have been from its quarry, of course.
But it could equally have been from human prey.
So it's true then? Clint Van Zeeks really was the Professor? Impossible! These Japanese are making it all up to exonerate their own!
So in fact, the person responsible for these murders of nobles and royals was a noble himself, and that threatened to be an enormous scandal that would irrevocably destabilize British society.
My father knew that and was using it to negotiate his way out of the unjust charges brought against him. But at the very last hour, those he'd bargained with betrayed him, slaying him mercilessly on foreign soil.
Well, can you deny it, Lord Strongheart?
10 years have passed, and still now, the 6 million inhabitants of our great capital rest easy, believing that justice was done. That though this anonymity remains, the diabolical murderer was caught and executed.
Very well then, you may have the truth.
Holy shit, dude.
Tell me then! Tell me what Clint really was!
Lord Clint Van Zieks was too pure of heart. When he became a prosecutor and went in pursuit of the black roots of crime, he drove himself into a corner. He came to the uncomfortable realization that to fight the most fiendish of criminals requires one to become even more fiendish oneself.
Clint.
The 19th century was a truly miraculous 100 years for Great Britain, and indeed the whole world. New industry, new technology, and with the birth of the Metropolitan Police Service, new law and order. But these dazzling new developments meant ever deeper shadows were cast on society. Water sullied by factories, air thick with noxious fumes, and crime growing daily to fill the darkness. Lord Clint Van Zieks made it his mission to combat that darkness. But as time went on, it slowly ate at his soul, until eventually he was consumed. It's ironic, really, and somewhat surprising, that the truth has once again been unearthed by a Japanese.
Once again? What do you mean?
10 years ago, your father, Genshin Asogi, turned up at my office one night. The professor.
Yes, beyond all shadow of doubt. You must issue a warrant to search his home at once.
Don't be absurd. The man comes from one of our country's most illustrious families. He's a paragon of justice here in the capital.
Yes, that's the point. That's why none of your British can see it. He's using his noble status as a diversion whilst he commits these atrocious crimes behind the scenes.
Do you have evidence?
Nothing definitive as yet. But he keeps an enormous savage hound on the estate. We need the full support of the judiciary for this. We're up against a member of the aristocracy.
So a large family estate is a fierce guard dog. You should know that's commonplace here in Britain. I'm sorry, but I can't possibly put Scotland Yard onto this based on the tenuous accusation of a visiting student. So I turned down Asogi's plea, and as a result, he took it upon himself to visit the Van Zieks mansion on his own. We can only imagine now what happened between the two men. Though we know the outcome, of course. Lord Clint Van Zieks perished.
I don't believe this.
So, in actual fact, Kazuma-sama's father did.
He made the late Lord Van Zieks meet the same fate. He put a permanent end to the professor killings by taking the drastic measure of ending the perpetrator's life.
Damn, dude. Fuck. God damn, this game is so fucking good. I love this game so fucking much, man. This game is unbelievable. Wow. Wow. Ah! As soon as I hurried to the mansion. When I arrived, it was easy to grasp what had happened.
And what about the will?
Asogi must have already taken it. Nothing of that nature was found at the scene. We had no idea of the existence of such a document at that time.
Oh. Poor Barack Van Zieks. God damn, dude.
I was the only person who knew of the true identity of the professor. So, I resolved to keep it a secret and to guard the secret to the bitter end.
So you're admitting to it? That you were behind it all?
It was you, then, who pinned the crimes on my father!
I did what needed to be done in order to protect the law and order of the British Empire. Even if that meant employing an unforgivable ruse.
Then it was you who arranged this fabricated evidence.
I ordered that detective to take care of it, whilst keeping the truth from him, naturally. Gregson? Obviously, he opposed me at first.
Are you off your rocker? We can't do something like that.
There's no question that it was Asogi who murdered Lord Van Zeeks. The house staff have made statements that they saw the man running from the mansion that night.
Yes, well, I've no doubt it was that Japanese fella. But we haven't got a shred of conclusive evidence against the man. And worse than that, he doesn't keep a dog, so we're short of a murder weapon to boot.
And we're short on time, Gregson. We must put a stop to this man's rampage for the good of the country. So we'll use whatever means necessary. Do I make myself clear, Detective?
Blimey.
So that night 10 years ago, when I was attacked by those thugs in the back streets, and Genshin's ring was taken, that was him, was it? That was Gregson and some hired help.
Then the detective handed the stolen ring to Dr. Watson, who feigned its discovery from the victim's stomach during that autopsy.
And in the light of that decisive evidence, Mr. Sogi was found guilty of the charges brought against him. However, behind the scenes, he had actually already struck a deal with his accusers, in which he agreed to silently accept the charges.
But I just don't believe that part. As far as I knew the man, my father despised such underhand dealings.
It was extremely easy to make him comply. You see, he had one crippling weakness.
What weakness?
Isn't it obvious? You, Kazuma Sogi.
Me?
Perhaps you have no desire to return to your homeland, Hisogi.
What?
Though I hear you have a 14-year-old son. Agree to cooperate and accept your guilt without contention, and you will see Japan and your son again.
You scoundrel!
Whether you choose wisely or not, it will be a closed trial by order of Her Majesty. So whatever rash claims you might make in court, we'll have no trouble in stifling them. There's only one outcome for you, Asogi: the gallows.
Don't forget that I still have a weapon at my disposal. A document revealing a truth that I know you're desperate to keep hidden.
Yes, it hadn't escaped my mind, which is the only reason I'm willing to bargain with you. I only want to protect this country's law and order. You understand? So, what's it to be, Asogi?
Kazuma.
Wow, holy shit. I can't believe he's admitting to all this shit. He did it for me?
And as I told him at the time, my motive was simply to protect Britain from the damage the truth would do. To protect this country's law and order at any cost.
Audience is like, holy fuck.
I've never dared let myself even consider this possibility until now. But in the light of all this treachery, I have to ask. The mastermind behind the Reaper of the Bailey. Was it you, Lord Mayor Strongheart? A rather brilliant idea, wouldn't you say, Lord Barak Van Zeeks? That the spirit of your late brother, that paragon of justice, should return to reap justice for his sibling. Could there be a more appetizing tale for London's masses, I ask you?
What? What brazen?
I knew that you'd play the part to perfection, but your role really wasn't that of some embodiment of death. No, you were London's guardian angel. An angel with bloody hands? I think not. Those who cooperated with me already were only too happy to participate in my plan. Inspector Gregson, Dr. Watson, My minions worked tirelessly to ensure that the finger of guilt could never come to the rest on you. It's all thanks to them that you were exalted as the demigod the Reaper became.
But Dr. Watson left Britain 4 years ago when he was invited to work in Japan.
That's right. So I had to employ the services of his young protege after that. Dr. Courtney Scythe.
Dr. Scythe.
So what with the execution of the professor and the subsequent reign of the Reaper the Barely, I've successfully safeguarded law and order in our mighty capital for the past decade. That is everything.
Wow. I cannot believe he just straight admitted that. But it's interesting enough now, it's like,
What can anybody do? And what will the masses here have to say? Can he really contain this secret to everybody here? My lords, ladies, and gentlemen, I do hereby confess it was I who sired the concept of the Reaper. However, let me say in my defense, it was all for the preservation of law and order across the entire empire. Lord Strongheart did it?
An unforgivable collection of crimes? But still, all those who died at the Reaper's hands were rolled into the claw anyway.
If it was all in aid of keeping London safe.
There is no one left now who can reveal the precise truth of what happened 10 years ago. Therefore, this trial can go no further. Now, I would like to entreat all those present. Beyond these 4 walls, nobody need know the truth. Even Her Majesty must be protected from this. I trust you all appreciate the importance of my request. It is, of course, for the good of the country.
Can he do this? Can the trial really end now?
Hold it! Hold it! I have one last question. For the accused, Lord Van Zeeks.
What?
Of course, I know that you're a highly accomplished prosecutor, so I find it hard to believe that you didn't have any doubts at all. That you never suspected your older brother.
Yes, the same thought occurred to me.
It was only once, but yes, I couldn't say that I never had my doubts. My brother's sense of justice was extremely strong. Perhaps too strong, I observed. At that time, there were members of the aristocracy who were bleeding the country dry for their own gain. And since they were nobles, they were untouchable. For my brother, it was a source of great turmoil. And coincidentally, at the same time, the professor began his terrifying reign. During the time of the professor killings, my brother did not appear to be himself. And that made you suspect? Yes. But it was only once, not more. Only once? Really? Clint wasn't the culprit. That was my conclusion at the time. And I still believe that now. Do you have any evidence to support that idea? The third victim was the Lord Chief Justice at the time. It was he who recognized my brother's potential and trained him as a prosecutor. No matter what the circumstances, it's unthinkable that my brother could have killed his friend and mentor! Oh. Interesting. That will do. Neither Clint Van Zeeks nor Gejdasogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. But there are only 2 extant pieces of evidence from the time. The woe-begone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Isogi, and the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left behind by the man. The wretched truth of what happened is exactly as I have explained. Later today, I will present myself at the Ministry of Justice for whatever sanction is deemed appropriate. That is all. Court is adjourned.
Objection, no fucker! This can't end here, you motherfucker.
Not today. Thank you, Kazuma.
Me?
If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made this 11th hour discovery.
What discovery?
My lord, I'm afraid I must insist the trial continues.
I beg your pardon.
As the court has been reminded today already, we must stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth. And to that end, one particular statement made by somebody in this courtroom moments ago revealed a very subtle contradiction.
What contradiction?
But all I did was ask the accused one simple question.
Well, it began with Lord Van Zeeks and his recollection about his brother. But Lord Strongheart didn't permit the defendant to speak at length.
I merely pointed out that we can draw no further useful conclusions here.
So where on earth is the contradiction?
One of them definitely just said something contradictory. It's time to identify who.
Hold on.
Let me look.
Oh, this.
In the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left by the man himself.
But, this is only fucking 2 pages. Oh, bitch. I got you now.
It was Lord Strongheart. I'm sure of it. Something he said was slightly off. Come on, Ryunosuke. Think back over his words. Find the problem.
Neither Clint Van Zeeks nor Gichin Isugi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. There are only 2 extant pieces of evidence from the time. The woebegone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Gichin Isugi, and the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left behind by the man.
Lord Strongheart, would you care to explain?
Explain what, counsel?
Among the statements you made just a few moments ago, something you said was inconsistent with a certain piece of evidence we have.
Inconsistent?
And whilst the inconsistency remains, the defense has the right to pursue an explanation.
Ryunosuke, what?
Let me warn you about the statements you are making, counsel. They may very well prove fatal. You claim my words contain a contradiction. With which piece of evidence, I ask you?
This motherfucker. This here is the will left behind by Mr. Isugi. The 2-page will.
What?
Yet moments ago, your precise words were the 3-page last will and testament.
No!
Could it be that originally there was a 3rd page?
For a moment, I thought perhaps you'd identify something worthwhile. But it's a mere trifle, I see.
A trifle?
Governor Caden! What can I do for you, sir?
You were present when the Japanese man penned his last will and testament.
Aye, I was there for sure. I remember the black and black scrolls this day. And yeah, I'm quite certain, my lord, there was the 3rd page at the time. What? Only the first 2 pages were the actual will, though. If I mark correctly, a 3rd was the message to his lad back in Japan.
For legal purposes, we required only his will.
And we wouldn't have wanted any or a couple of wills about Britain to get back to Japan, eh? So it was decided that the 3rd page only be sent.
Objection!
How dare you make that decision? I had a right to know what it said. To hear my father's final words to me.
The courtroom is no place for sentimentality, counsel.
As it happens, I have the 3rd page of the document with me right here. Here now. My father's message?
It will be given to you at the end of these proceedings.
It'll be too late once the trial is over. We need to know what it says now. Even the slightest thing may give us a vital clue. My lord, the defense calls for Gichin Isugi's last words to his son to be read out loud before the court now.
Your request is denied. The inevitably maudlin words can be of no consequence now.
Objection!
The prosecution agrees. The court should know the content of that message. Every possible piece of evidence must be thoroughly examined.
Very well then, Governor Caden. You will read the third page of the document for all present to hear.
Yes, sir. I should point out, my lord, that can he actually read language?
This beautiful handwriting, shame on you, Barry. Mikitoba? Yeah.
Shame on you, Barry. If I could be of assistance here, I would be happy to translate the words into English for the court.
Father!
You're still here, are you, Dr. Mikitoba?
Naturally, I consider myself a member of the judiciary, albeit a lowly one. But perhaps I should quietly withdraw after I have translated Genshin's message.
Your cooperation is much appreciated.
Kazuma, the truth is shrouded in darkness, a darkness only our clan's great sword can pierce. Mighty Karama, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes.
That's the end of the message, it would seem.
A haiku poem? Twist thy head?
Father.
What is Karma?
The name of the Asogi clan's famous sword. A razor-sharp blade known to all, passed on for generations. It embodies the Japanese spirit.
It's not known to me.
Well, I never heard of it. I didn't vote for it.
It's the katana sword that was submitted as evidence earlier in these proceedings. The one worn by the prosecution counsel when he confronted Inspector Gregson.
Okay.
All these procrastinations are beginning to try my patience. Adjournment to this court is long overdue.
As the presiding judge, I have been as accommodating as possible of the will of the courtroom. However, despite all that, no new information has come to light. In pursuit of justice, Lord Clint Van Zeeks tragically lost all sense of morality. When he murdered his former mentor, clearly was already devoid of his normal faculties. So it was the previous Lord Chief Justice, huh? That seems a lot like it was something that he would have gained, would have benefited greatly from, right? Are we saying that Clint maybe only murdered a few of them and then passed on, that torch got passed on to Strongheart? And also, we still don't know who shot Genshin Asogi.
Objection! How dare you! I refuse to believe that to my brother!
Too much time has passed. We cannot ever hope to know more than we do now. Especially since the alleged will that he penned in his final moments appears to have been lost forever.
Ah! Lord Strongheart, you appear to be in something of a hurry to wrap things up. I wonder why. We've heard you state time and again during these proceedings that everything you did was in the interest of protecting British law and order.
And I stand by that. Without the Reaper, we could never have achieved the reduction in crime the capital has seen.
Objection.
What about Inspector Gregson then?
And Dr. Watson. They were no criminals. You used them to achieve your ends, and then you had them killed.
However you dress it up, there was nothing fair or just about that.
Lord Strongheart, what exactly is it that you're hiding?
Dr. Mikitoba, were you not to quietly withdraw after the translation of your former associate's will? In this courtroom, no argument carries weight unless it is supported by evidence. And it would seem that the defense has no more evidence to present. In which case, I hereby order all discourse from these proceedings to be struck from the record.
This is my last chance.
Mr. Naruhodo,
I have to present some decisive evidence now, or it's all over. But can I? Yes. Wait, my lord. As it happens, the defense does have evidence to present.
What? Don't be absurd! There's nothing of relevance remaining for the time!
Objection!
Oh, the music's kicking in.
It's high time that you realize something, my lord. This gentleman has an uncanny habit of producing evidence at the final hour.
That had escaped everyone else's attention.
Nonsense.
What is it, Ryunosuke? What do you have?
I dare say, the final, decisive piece of evidence that will reveal the whole truth about this rotten tale.
How? How can you?
Decisive.
Well, it would appear there's no escaping it now, my lord. Oh my god. I already know what it is. I know exactly what it is. I gotta pull this sword out again. Yeah, pull it out. Where is it? Oh my god.
Mighty Karma, twist thy head and watch them fall. All thy mortal foes. That's the proper way to use the sword, is it? Maybe I should try it. It hurts my neck, that's the trouble.
Mr. Naruhodo, if I might make a suggestion, I think perhaps it doesn't mean your head.
Oh.
I once studied the history and development of the katana some time ago. And as I'm sure you're probably aware, the sword's head is the part at the very end of the hilt. It's written as head in Japanese, but it's pronounced as kashira, I believe.
Kashira? So Mr. Sogi's words really mean twist the butt of the hilt? You don't think?
Ah,
Look what's inside it.
is that a tightly wound sheet of parchment?
Oh my god. Fucking knew it, dude. This motherfucker. God damn, this game's so fucking hype, dude.
Scarlet ink? It's written in scarlet ink. I penned this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. This is it, isn't it?
Mr. Naruhodo, look at the signature at the end.
Clint Van Zeeks. And the date, 10 years ago, on that fateful night.
So for 10 years, it's been silently concealed inside Karama, and nobody knew. The last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeeks.
Oh my god.
Wait, oh my goodness. Look at this. This is unbelievable. What is it, guys?
It's the motherfucking truth is what it is.
It's fucking time. Can I actually read it? No, I can't. I kind of figured I wouldn't be able to. No, we're gonna do this fucking dramatic. We gotta do it at the right time. And the time is now.
It appears no escaping it now, my lord.
Let it be so then. Present whatever you think you have that can settle this decade-old enigma, if you're capable. What exactly is this evidence that the defense claims to be so decisive?
Take that!
There's a single piece of evidence that can clarify what really happened 10 years ago.
The last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeeks.
A wonderfully astute observation, I'm sure. But in case it had escaped your notice, that document was lost long ago.
That's right, it was. Only. I have it right here, discovered just moments ago.
Impossible! That can't be!
Everything that's happened comes back to this will. This document is the key that will unlock the entire mystery.
Oh god, he's losing his shit now.
My brother's last will and testament.
Where did you find that?
It was rolled up inside this.
Inside Karama?
That ultimate weapon Genja Sogi obtained has lain undisturbed at the hilt of the sword all these years, just waiting for the right time to emerge and reveal the truth.
The signature and seal suddenly look official. My god, it's true. It's my brother's handwriting. There can be no mistake. I forbid the contents of that document from being read out. Do you hear me? I strictly forbid it!
Objection!
You can't do that, my lord. This document should explain everything. That document could literally destroy the meaning of justice in this country. I demand that you hand it to me at once! Why? What are you trying to hide? Could it be that you already know what's written on this page? What are you implying? Court's adjourned with immediate effect.
Clear the courtroom!
Objection!
Do that, my lord, and you'll suffer a fatal blow as Lord Chief Justice.
I beg your pardon?
Forcibly ending a trial without good reason. Not any trial. A closed trial by order of Her Majesty the Queen. To defy the monarch's will is treason. Lord Cliff has 6 related pinaware that day.
It's the second as the young Japanese man said.
Read it out! No! We have a right to hear what's in that will. A right and a duty.
Well, well, my lord. It would rather appear as the proceedings aren't going to go quite as you'd hoped.
You fools.
Go ahead, Ryunosuke. Read it. The prosecution gives its full support.
Very well, then.
No, for God's sake! No!